What's going on, guys? This is Vince with vshred.com, and today I'm going to be showing you guys 3 tips to help you build a bigger back. All right, so when it comes to building a bigger back, it's typically referring to, most people are going to be thinking about your lat muscle. You have your teres minor, you have your teres major, you have your rhomboids on the back. There's a bunch of different back muscles. So what you have to realize is that with all these different back muscles, when you're doing a back exercise, you're typically going to be holding the weight with your hands, whether that's a lat pull down, whether that's a bent over barbell row, whether that's any kind of cable row, dumbbell row, anything like that. You're going to be holding weight, and you're going to have to typically holding a lot of weight in order to completely fatigue your back. So what happens is, let's say you go to the gym and you're doing an awesome back session, and you're a couple exercises into your back session, maybe just a couple of sets, and all of a sudden your forearm strength has gone to shit, and you can no longer hold the weight, the heavy weight that you need to be able to hold, and your hands are fatiguing before your back muscles are fatiguing. So my first tip to build a bigger back is to get you some of these. These are just some basic wraps to help you. What you do is you basically wrap this little wrap right here around the dumbbell a bunch of times, and it helps you basically not lift the weights with your hands. And some people call this cheating and that you shouldn't use these for forearm strength, but your back should be stronger than your forearms, period. If your forearms can handle the same amount of weight as your back, then I don't ever want to shake your hand because you might break my hand. But use these when you're doing back, because this is going to allow you to fatigue your back before your forearms fatigue. What I personally do is I'll start with, let's say I'm doing lat pull down. I'll go through my first couple sets of lat pull down. Then when I get to my heavy set and I'm going for, let's say, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 reps, where it's a lot heavier of weight than, let's say, 15 reps, that's when I'll throw on my straps and use these to lift the weights. And so that's the first tip, because these are going to allow you to lift more weight. And the second tip is going to be it's going to be a small change in your form with a dumbbell row. A lot of times I see guys going and doing dumbbell rows and it looks like this. And this is okay, you're going to work a little bit of your back, but if you look closely, this weight's coming straight up to my shoulder, right? So what's getting more extension? Is there more flexion in my elbow, or is my elbow actually being brought back, therefore working my lats? Because when you're doing a dumbbell row, you're not trying to bring this weight straight up to your shoulder. You're actually trying to drive your elbow backwards. The movement from here to here is actually what's going to be working your back. It doesn't matter what this part of your arm is doing. And so this is basically a polyarticular exercise where you're going to be using 2 joints, your elbow and your shoulder, but what you only want to focus on is your shoulder. So instead of lifting this weight straight up just like this, getting a lot of flexion in your elbow and working a lot of your bicep, instead, what you want to do is actually drag this weight back, and then from here, you want to drag your elbow up towards the ceiling, and then back down, and then you can bring this back forward just to get a little bit more of a stretch and then bring it back, or you can just bring it back down and not bring it forward and go straight back into it. And that is going to be putting tension on the muscle a hell of a lot more than when you're just bringing it straight up, basically only really working your biceps. So that's the second tip. Make sure you're dragging your elbow backwards and then pulling up so that you really get a deep squeeze in your lat muscle. And now let's take you to the third tip. So now I'm on a seated row. It's a cable seated row, and you can do this with a straight bar, you can do it with an easy bar, you can do it with a rope, you can do it with anything. But the biggest issue that I see with guys lifting is that, let's just do a regular overhand row right here. What I see a lot is guys going like this, right here. And same thing as the dumbbell row. This is going to work a little bit of your back, but it's also going to be working a lot of your biceps. Same thing, polyarticular exercise. You're going to be moving 2 joints, your elbows and your shoulder. But what you're trying to focus on is the extension of your shoulder, where you're actually going to be bringing your shoulder from in front of you, down and back behind you. Because that is what's going to give you that squeeze on your lat. If you bring it, if you're just trying to get the weight from in front of you to up to your chest, no matter what you're trying to work, you're going to end up working your bicep a lot. And that's why when guys are doing this row, they're bringing their elbows straight back and getting a lot of bicep activation, and that's why they never feel their lats getting stimulated. They never fatigue their lats. So instead of doing this high row right here where you're doing basically an overhanded curl, what you want to do is, instead of going straight forward, actually focus on bringing your hands down a little bit, like depressing your shoulders, and then from here, really focus on, almost imagine as if your hands are just hooks. And you're not grabbing this weight with your forearm and really squeezing with your arms here, because that's going to end up working a lot of your bicep. You're going to focus as if your hands are hooks, and then from there, what you're going to do, bring your hands down, and then you're going to drive your elbows back and get that squeeze at the top, and then go back slowly, keeping your hands down, your elbows as low as possible. You want to try to keep them on one plane down here. So the biggest difference would be the plane of motion that you're moving when you're doing this exercise, because you can either work on a plane that's up here where you're going to be working a lot of bicep, and that's the plane right here, or you can have your plane about a half foot lower than that and your plane down here, and that's when you're actually going to start getting that shoulder extension to where you're actually bringing this back and working that lat muscle. So I'll show you what I mean. Big difference between right here, this plane of motion, and then 6 inches down, and this plane of motion. And I'll actually, once you come around to the side, I'm actually gonna do a little extra here for you guys. I'm gonna show you guys the difference that you can probably see when I'm doing it wrong and hitting a lot of bicep, and when I'm actually doing it right and hitting a lot of back. So the first one's gonna be bicep, the second one's gonna be back. First one, right here, not much back. Second one, gonna bring it down. So, I didn't see it, but I'm imagining it looked like my back was being worked a lot more in the second exercise, and that's because I was bringing my elbow down and I was really focusing on squeezing with my lats as I brought the weight back. So guys, try those 3 tips out the next time that you are going to hit back. Use some of these wraps. Slide your elbow back when you're doing your dumbbell rows, and make sure you are working on a lower plane of motion when you're doing any kind of cable row, and you're going to feel it a hell of a lot more in your back muscles than you did before. I guarantee you that. So if you guys like this video, make sure you're giving it a thumbs up. I also have a free physique builder tool where basically you answer a couple questions about your body, what you're struggling with, so that we can figure out what body type you are, what your metabolic rate is, and then we kick you out a free video where it gives you 3 tips, and then from there, if you want to continue on with the program that we recommend for your body type, because I have created programs with tips just like this loaded in every single one of them, then it'll kick you out that, and it's your decision if you want to continue on with the program. If not, you get 3 free tips, and that's that. But you can check that out by clicking the link in the description below. Other than that, guys, if you have any comments, concerns, video recommendations, leave them in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to click that subscribe button down there so that you are notified when I release a new video. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.